not sure how we're going to turn the camera off, but...
Alright, so welcome. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 10. The chapter is answers by citing the Lord's version. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, sound check. Text 10. In that personal abode of the Lord, the material modes of ignorance and passion do not prevail, nor is there any of their influence in goodness. There is no predominance of the influence of time. So what to speak of the illusory external energy? It cannot enter that region. Without discrimination, both the demigods and the demons worship the Lord as devotees. The kingdom of God, or the atmosphere of the Vaikuntha nature, which is called the Tripad Vibhuti, is 3 times bigger than the material universes, and is described here as also in the Bhagavad Gita in a nutshell. This universe, containing billions of stars and planets, is one of the billions of such universes clustered together within the compass of the Mahatattva. And all these millions and billions of universes combined together constitute only 1/4 of the magnitude of the whole creation of the Lord. There is a spiritual sky also. Beyond this sky are the spiritual planets under the names of Vaikuntha, and all of them constitute 3/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. God's creations are always innumerable. Even the leaves of a tree cannot be counted by a man, nor can the hairs on his head. However, foolish men are puffed up with the idea of becoming God himself, though unable to create a hair of their own bodies. Man may discover so many wonderful vehicles of journey, but even if he reaches the moon by his much advertised spacecraft, he cannot remain there. The sane man, therefore, without being puffed up as if he were the God of the universe, abides by the instructions of the Vedic literature, the easiest way to acquire knowledge in transcendence. So let us know through the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam of the nature and constitution of the transcendental world beyond the material sky. In that sky, the material qualities, especially the modes of ignorance and passion, are completely absent. The mode of ignorance influences the living entity to the habit of lust and hankering, and this means that in the Vaikuntha lokas, the living entities are free from these 2 things. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Brahma Bhuta stage of life, one becomes free from hankering and lamentation. Therefore, the conclusion is that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are all Brahma Bhuta living entities, as distinguished from the mundane creatures who are all compact in hankering and lamentation. When one is not in the modes of ignorance and passion, one is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness in the material world. Goodness in the material world also at times becomes contaminated by touches of the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Vaikuntha Loka, it is unalloyed goodness
only. Interesting idea about, this, what does it say? However, foolish men are puffed up with the idea of becoming God himself, though unable to create a hair of their own bodies. It's an interesting point, because in one sense a hair is such a simple kind of thing, but it's actually so complex and complicated in one sense. What is it that determines that hairs grow all in the same place? Like your eyebrow hair grows here and mustache grows there. I mean, how come it doesn't grow on your eyelids? Or, of course, some people hair grows out of their ears, but not so bad like a whole, you can plait it or something. And hair doesn't grow around your fingernails or necessarily on the backs of your knuckles. What is it? How? And it does it for everyone. So for people to think that all this stuff is so random, that's random, So anyway, just started me thinking about hair. The whole situation there is one of freedom from the illusory manifestation of the external energy. Although illusory energy is also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, illusory energy is differentiated from the Lord. The illusory energy is not, however, false, as claimed by the monist philosophers. The rope, accepted as a snake, may be an allusion to a particular person, but the rope is a fact, and the snake is also a fact. The illusion of water on the hot desert may be illusion for the ignorant animal searching for water in the desert, but the desert and water are actual facts. Therefore, the material creation of the Lord may be an illusion to the non-devotee, but to a devotee, even the material creation of the Lord is a fact, as the manifestation of his external energy. But this energy of the Lord is not all. The Lord has his internal energy also, which has another creation known to be the Vaikuntha Lokas, where there is no ignorance, no passion, no illusion, and no past and present. With a poor fund of knowledge, one may be unable to understand the existence of such things as the Vaikuntha atmosphere, but that does not nullify its existence. That spacecraft cannot reach these planets does not mean that there are no such planets, for they are described in the revealed scriptures.
As quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami, we can know from the Narada Pancharatra that the transcendental world or Vaikuntha atmosphere is enriched with transcendental qualities. These transcendental qualities, as revealed through the devotional service of the Lord, are distinct from the mundane qualities of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Such qualities are not attainable by the non-devotee class of men. In the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, it is stated that beyond the 1/4 part of God's creation is the 3/4 manifestation. The marginal line between the material manifestation and the spiritual manifestation is the Viraja river. And beyond the Viraja, which is a transcendental current flowing from the perspiration of the body of the Lord, there is a 3/4 manifestation of God's creation. This part is eternal, everlasting, without deterioration, and unlimited, and it contains the highest perfectional stage of living conditions. In the Sankhya Kumudi, it is stated that unalloyed goodness or transcendence is just opposite to the material modes. All living entities there are eternally associated without any break, and the Lord is the chief and prime entity. In the Agama Puranas also, the transcendental abode is described as follows. The associated members, they are free to go everywhere within the creation of the Lord, and there is no limit to such creation, particularly in the region of the 3/4 magnitude. Since the nature of that region is unlimited, there is no history of such association, nor is there end of it.
It's interesting. In the Agama Puranas, the transcendental abode is described. The associated members there, so that means those persons who live in Vaikuntha, are free to go everywhere within the creation of the Lord. So that means they can come to the material world. That means they can go to other Vaikuntha planets. Okay? And there is no limit to such creation. Yeah, because the creation of the Lord is unlimited in one sense. It's everything. Particularly in the region of the 3/4 magnitude. So that's the Vaikuntha planets. Vaikuntha Loka. Since the nature of that region is unlimited, there is no history of such association, nor is there end of it. So I guess that means when it says the association, there's the idea that all entities are associated without any break, and the associated members. So there is no history of such association, nor is there any end to it. I didn't quite understand that part. Did you get that?
I took it that there is no beginning of the association of the unborns.
No beginning of the association of the unborns.
Jivas.
Jivas, okay.
That's going to be a good movie title, the unborns.
Okay, next paragraph. The conclusion may be drawn that because of the complete absence of the mundane qualities of ignorance and passion, there is no question of creation nor of annihilation. In the material world, everything is created and everything is annihilated, and the duration of life between the creation and annihilation is temporary. In the transcendental realm, there is no creation and no destruction, and thus the duration of life is eternal unlimitedly. In other words, everything in the transcendental world is everlasting, full of knowledge and bliss without deterioration. Since there is no deterioration, there is no past, present, and future in the estimation of time. It is clearly stated in this verse that the influence of time is conspicuous by its absence. The whole material existence is manifested by actions and reactions of elements which make the influence of time prominent in the matter of past, present, and future. There are no such actions and reactions of cause and effects. There are no such actions and reactions of cause and effects there. So, the cycle of birth, growth, existence, transformation, deterioration, and annihilation, the 6 material changes, are not existent there. It is the unalloyed manifestation of the energy of the Lord without illusion as experienced here in the material world. The whole Vaikuntha existence proclaims that everyone there is a follower of the Lord. The Lord is the chief leader there, without any competition for leadership, and the people in general are all followers of the Lord. It is confirmed in the Vedas, therefore, that the Lord is the chief leader and all other living entities are subordinate to him. For only the Lord satisfies all the needs of all other living entities. Any thoughts?
No.
Quite complicated, that last section a bit to really pull something out of it, but it's just describing the Vaikuntha world, the transcendental abode, the Lord's abode, the spiritual world, that it's eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. People there don't go through the 6 transformational changes and coming into existence and staying for some time and producing byproducts, dwindling and passing away, growing. And that the Lord there is considered the chief, and everybody knows it, and everyone follows. It's the rebellious mentality against this that drives us away from the spiritual world, and which leads us into the material world, where we desire to try to be the chief or the supreme controller, like that. Does that make sense? Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
Text 11. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets are described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion. Their eyes resemble lotus flowers, their dress is of yellowish colour, and their bodily features very attractive. They are just the age of growing youths. They all have 4 hands, and they are all nicely decorated with pearl necklaces with ornamental medallions, and they all appear to be effulgent. The inhabitants in Vaikuntha Loka are all personalities with spiritual bodily features not to be found in the material world. We can find the descriptions in the revealed scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. Impersonal descriptions of transcendence in the scriptures indicate that the bodily features in Vaikuntha Loka are never to be seen in any part of the universe. As there are different bodily features in different places of a particular planet, or as there are different bodily features between bodies in different planets, similarly, the bodily features of the inhabitants in Vaikuntha Loka are completely different from those in the material universe. For example, the 4 hands are distinct from the 2 hands in this world.
So that's interesting. So it seems to kind of imply that even on other planets, they may not have like 4 arms. But of course, we know Lord Brahma, he has 4 heads, and some of them have many, many, many heads. So, but these bodily features of the Vaikuntha residents and the Lord in Vaikuntha is very distinct from the features here. Text 12. Some of them are effulgent like coral and diamonds in complexion, and have garlands on their heads, blooming like lotus flowers, and some wearing earrings. Purport. There are some inhabitants who have attained the liberation of Sarupya, or possessing bodily features like those of the personality of Godhead. The Vaidurya diamond is especially meant for the personality of Godhead, but one who achieves the liberation of bodily equality with the Lord is especially favored with such diamonds on his body.
That's mean that he's wearing them.
Yeah.
They don't grow in your body.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it comes across like that, but yeah.
Text 13. The Vaikuntha planets are also surrounded by various airplanes, all glowing and brilliantly situated. These airplanes belong to the great Mahatmas and devotees of the Lord. The ladies are as beautiful as lightning because of their celestial complexions, and all these combined together appear just like the sky decorated with both clouds and lightning.
Beautiful description, huh?
Purport. It appears that in the Vaikuntha planets there are also airplanes brilliantly glowing, and they are occupied by the great devotees of the Lord with ladies of celestial beauty as brilliant as lightning. As they are airplanes, so there must be different types of carriages like airplanes, but they may not be driven machines, as we have experienced in this world. Because everything is of the same nature of eternity, bliss and knowledge, the airplanes and carriages are of the same quality as Brahman. Although there is nothing except Brahman, one should not mistakenly think that there is only void and no variegatedness. Thinking like that is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Otherwise, no one would have such a misconception of voidness in Brahman. As there are airplanes, ladies and gentlemen, so there must be cities and houses, and everything else just suitable to the particular planets. One should not carry the idea of imperfection from this world to the transcendental world, and not take into consideration the nature of the atmosphere as completely free from the influence of time, etc., as described previously.
So basically, in the spiritual world, there's airplanes, transcendental airplanes, and buildings, houses, places where people live. People have their functionality. Everything is there, except it's all made of pure Brahman. The nature is eternal, so there aren't any of the frailties of these things that we experience here. And the influence of time, which is the deteriorating factor of the material world, all of these things are absent there. So like that. Interesting. Excuse me, text 14. The goddess of fortune in her transcendental form is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet. And being moved by the black bees, followers of spring, she is not only engaged in variegated pleasure, service to the Lord along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Text 15. Lord Brahma saw the Vaikuntha planets, the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Arhana, his immediate associates. Purport. When we speak of a king, it is naturally understood that the king is accompanied by his confidential associates, like his secretary, private secretary, aide-de-camp, ministers, and advisors. So also when we see the Lord, we see him with his different energies, associates, confidential servitors, etc. So the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, the Lord of all devotee sects, the Lord of all opulences, the Lord of sacrifices, and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation, is not only the Supreme Person, but also is always surrounded by his immediate associates, all engaged in their loving transcendental service to Him.
Text 16. The personality of Godhead, seen leaning favourably towards his loving servitors, his very sight intoxicating and attractive, appeared to be very much satisfied. He had a smiling face decorated with an enchanting red shirt. He was dressed in yellow robes and wore earrings and a helmet on his head. He had 4 hands and his chest was marked with the lines of the goddess of fortune. Purport. In the Padma Purana Uttarakhanda, there is a full description of the Yoga Pita, or the particular place where the Lord is in audience to his eternal devotees. In that Yoga Pita, the personifications of religion, knowledge, opulence, and renunciation are all seated at the lotus feet of the Lord. The 4 Vedas, namely Rik, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, are present there personally to advise the Lord. The 16 energies headed by Chanda are all present there. Chanda and Kumuda are the first 2 doorkeepers at the middle door. At the middle door are the doorkeepers named Bhadra and Subhadra, and at the last door are Jaya and Vijaya. There are other doorkeepers also named Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pundarika, Vamana, Sankukana, Savannetra, Sumukha, etc. The Lord's palace is well decorated and protected by the above-mentioned doorkeepers.
So, usually it's described there as 7 doors, right? So here the list of all the doorkeepers are given if you want to enter the Lord's abode like that. How are we doing for time? One more?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. So we'll do one more. They're doing some construction work here on the building, so there's a bit of banging going on. Text 17. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 16, the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Purport. The Lord is naturally endowed with his 6 opulences. Specifically, he is the richest. He is the most powerful. He is the most famous. He is the most beautiful. He is the greatest in knowledge. And he is the greatest renouncer as well. And for his material creative energies, he is served by 4, namely the principles of Prakti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and Ego. He is also served by the 16, namely the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and sky. The 5 perceptive sense organs, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. The 5 working sense organs. Sorry. The 5 working sense organs, the hand, the leg, the stomach, the evacuation outlet, and the genitals. And finally, the mind. The 5 includes the sense objects, namely form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. The insignificant opulences, numbering 8, the astasiddhis attained by yogis for temporary overlordship, are also under his control, but he is naturally full with all such powers without any effort, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. Jai.
The living being, by severe penance and performance of bodily exercises, can temporarily attain some wonderful power, but that does not make him the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful than any yogi. He is unlimitedly more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being. And he is unlimitedly more charitable than any philanthropist. He is above all. No one is equal to or greater than him, nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in any of the above powers by any amount of penance or yogic demonstrations. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immeasurable charitable disposition, he can award some temporary powers to the yogis because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees who do not want anything from the Lord save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is so pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service.
Very nice. Any thoughts?
Yes, it's always good to do service.
It's always good to do service, yes. Okay, so we'll pick up next time on text 18 as we move into this chapter. So, Lord Brahma, who has performed tapasya, which means penance or austerity, has now been given the direct vision of God and God's supreme abode, and in that way he is feeling uplifted and enlightened and inspired, and he's glorifying the Lord and explaining what he's seeing. And then slowly we will hear about the conversation between the two of them and how Lord Brahma becomes empowered to be the original engineer of the material universe. Okay, thank you all very much. We hope you enjoyed having darshan of Lord Nityananda here. Beautiful painting on the wall. And we look forward to seeing you all next time. Hare Krishna.